Hello and welcome to This Week with Ajaz Haque. It is Sunday today, 16th of August 2020. Thank you for joining my YouTube channel. Today we have a number of issues to discuss. A tripartite agreement between UAE, US and Israel to establish diplomatic relations between UAE and Israel. Joe Biden picks Kamala Harris of Indian origin. Accountability is in full swing in Pakistan. The construction boom is starting, and a very large number of new construction projects are coming up. We'll provide a COVID update both in Pakistan and India. And then a major development, the government has accomplished an agreement with the independent power projects, IPPs. This was something that was hemorrhaging the country and its exchange reserves since 1994. We'll discuss that more in detail, and then there'll be the financial markets roundup. Now, the agreement between UAE and Israel, a formal agreement is to be signed yet, but agreement has been reached. The UAE and Israel will recognize each other and establish diplomatic relations. This will obviously have impact on other Arab countries. Qatar already has diplomatic relations with Israel. It seems that Oman and Saudi Arabia may follow suit soon. This puts Pakistan in quandary because of Pakistan's opposition. Israel has been acting against Pakistan's interests. But if they recognize Israel, it means dumping the Palestinians, which is a cause very close to the Pakistanis' heart. And if the Palestinian cause is out, then how will we support the Kashmir cause, which is so close to home for Pakistan? So something to ponder about over coming weeks and months. Now, Joe Biden has picked up his vice presidential nominee, Kamala Harris, whose mother comes from Tamil Nadu, India, and her father is Jamaican in origin and who taught at Stanford University. Kamala Harris was, before becoming a senator from California, she was a two-term attorney general and quite an outstanding person. She's outspoken on Kashmir and other issues, and she adds to Mr. Biden's ticket. So we need to, Donald Trump has been lashing back at her about her nativity, her birthplace and so on. She is born in the United States, so she is fully eligible. Now, what's interesting is that Joe Biden, with his age, may only, if elected, serve one term. In that case, Kamala Harris will be the presidential candidate in 4 years. So we'll see. Now, the accountability is in full swing in Pakistan. Mr. Ajaz has been indicted on first of the several cases that are being processed against him. This is a case involving money laundering and also theft and stealing money from one of the nationalized banks. Maryam Nawaz, Nawaz Sharif's daughter, was called by National Accountability Bureau for questioning on some hundreds of acres of land holding she has. She arrived with a stone-throwing mob who resorted to throw stones at NAB and police and turned into pretty ugly, and I think it's become very embarrassing for the Pakistan Muslim League and Shahbaz Sharif and other leaders. This was nothing but thuggery and just a show of force, and I think somebody who's been convicted already to 7 years prison needs to be more careful in dealing with such matters. Now, the construction boom in Pakistan, the new policy that was introduced by Prime Minister Imran Khan's government, 4,812 new applications have been filed for approval, 40 of these in the advanced stage. In Karachi alone, there are 42 projects which are almost shovel ready. It seems that the new policy requires that these projects must start before December 2020 and must be completed by December 2022. So there's a race for getting into the construction business. There are massive tax cuts for the construction industry and also tax exemptions for the buyers. So it makes it very attractive. This boom is likely to provide employment to between 500,000 to 1 million workers. And not only that, construction industry has close to 40 to 50 other industries like the woodworkers and the steel workers and so on. So it will provide a massive boom for all the other industries, and that should pick up the country's economy. And my guess is that the GDP growth rate, which is now being estimated at between 1.9 to 2.9%, may well end up close to 5% by June 2021. Now the COVID update in Pakistan, total cases to date are 289,000. Out of those, 266,000 have recovered, which is a recovery rate of 92.2%. The deaths are 6,100. That is a rate of 2.1% of the reported cases. In the last 24 hours, 670 new cases were reported and 677 recovered. In 1 week, 5,000 new cases were reported and 6,000 recovered. Now, India, the situation is a little bit different, where the curve is rising sharply once again. Total, there are 2.5 million reported cases. Out of those, 1.8 million have recovered. But in the last 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks of August, there have been 800,000 new cases, and the curve is still rising. So India may need to take steps to curb the expansion of COVID, as it is declining in other countries. In Pakistan, it's almost coming to an end, although there are still new cases reported, but the numbers are much smaller than they were a month ago. Now, a significant development is the agreement between Pakistan government and the Independent Power Producers, IPP. This policy was introduced in 1994 and subsequently 1997, and then in Musharraf's government. So the governments of Pakistan People's Party, Pakistan Muslim League, and General Musharraf's government, they gave out these very generous power contracts to independent power producers, which has destroyed the country's economy, which has drained the foreign exchange reserves, and it has increased the electricity cost to the consumer massively. The electricity rates in Pakistan are 50% higher than in India, and that shows how incompetently this whole matter was handled by the politicians, and more importantly, the bureaucrats, who are the ones who come up with these schemes and who implement these schemes, and they just walk away and they're not punished, while politicians are the only one who end up being punished. Now, anyone who had a company in Pakistan and signed an agreement as a power producer, they were paid in US dollars. Outrageous, absolutely outrageous. Now, under the new terms, apparently there were some serious discrepancies. So instead of charging the companies, and then the company is running for international arbitration and the matter getting longer, the companies showed willingness to come to the table and negotiate. So although the full details have not been made public yet, the main points are that instead of the 60% capacity payment which the government was paying, they will now only pay for actual consumption, and all the local IPPs will be paid in local currency, and foreign IPPs will be paid at a fixed dollar rate. There will be a free market of electricity, so they can sell electricity to various distribution companies. And on the delayed payments from the government, instead of 4.5% over KIBOR, the interest rate will now be 2% over KIBOR. So this is going to make electricity cheap and more efficient, and it's a good thing that the government and the IPPs have come to an agreement. Now, this is just an MOU at the moment. An agreement will be signed within 6 months. Now, a roundup of the financial markets. S&P 500 closed at 3372, flat. Nasdaq 11,019, also flat. TSE, excuse me, 100 at 6090, which was 1%. And TSX, the Toronto Stock Exchange, 16,514, which is also flat. Mumbai Stock Exchange closed 0.5%, 37,877. Shanghai 3360, which is also flat, and the Pakistan Stock Exchange 40,290, almost up 1%. That's all for this week. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have not subscribed to my channel, I request you to do so. Thank you very much and have a good week. Bye.